Wow.
This holiday season, we are bringing you 2 Christmas movie-themed episodes, starting with ABC's family-friendly made-for-television film from 2007 called Holiday in Handcuffs. This movie stars Melissa Joan Hart, most known for her role as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Mario Lopez, most known for his role on Saved by the Bell as AC Slater. The premise for this film is basically that a struggling artist makes some very questionable decisions in a desperate attempt to impress her family over a Christmas weekend. I don't want to give much away, but this is a fun one. So let's start the holidays.
Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. Welcome to Good Times with Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me as always is Tim Freeze, put your hands up, Morrison. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good, Tim. Doing really good. I'm getting into the holiday spirit here. It's a little early for us, not going to lie. But, we are getting ready for Christmas time. What better way to do that, Tim, than with 2007's Holiday in Handcuffs from ABC Family?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this movie. I'm not sure if many people have ever seen this movie before. I was surprised to find out that it actually came out like as long ago, like 2007.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like as we said at the start here, this is the premise is pretty ridiculous for this. So, I mean, I can't believe I've never. It's been, what is that now? That's like 15. I don't know, 15 years, something like that. 16. It's been a while now. Okay, that I've never heard of this movie up until you were like last year. Like, hey man, have you heard about this movie called Holiday in Handcuffs? And then when you told me about this, I didn't believe you. And so like finally watching this now, this is amazing.
This movie is so peculiar and just nonchalant in the topics and things that are just put on display here. And it's a rom-com. Like it's a romantic comedy Christmas movie. And throughout the movie, everything is played off in such a whimsical way. Like the soundtrack for the movie sounds like this. All these different things that are going to come through in this movie are played with this like silly, fun, cute music. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, Tim, I hadn't thought about it up until you just said it a minute ago there. You're right. This is a movie that was, and I even just said it myself. Like that's how smart I am, man. Jeez Louise. This is a movie that ABC Family made. Okay. I'll save all my thought about the commentary about writing it and everything till the end of the movie. I'll try my best. I'll try so hard to just sit on that grenade till the end here. But it is incredible that this is an ABC movie. And this is on Disney Plus, by the way. Like this is on Disney Plus, this movie. This is wild. So I'm really excited to get into this, Tim. What do you say? Why don't we just crack open an early present?
You got the handcuffs? I'm ready.
All right.
So this starts out with Melissa Joan Hart on a very cold, late night, I guess on Christmas Eve, and she is driving down the road in the middle of nowhere, telling us that she is not crazy. And she repeats this several times. I am not crazy. Just because you do crazy things doesn't make you a crazy person. And we find out that she's actually following Mario Lopez, whose name in this is David. He is Slater from Saved by the Bell. And he's walking away, and she's trying to convince him to get into the car. And he gets in the car reluctantly and calls her the devil and kind of just sits grumpy. And she says, well, let's just go home and I'll make you some hot chocolate. And then she's like, maybe we should rewind this a bit and I'll tell you how I got here. This is not how I thought I would be spending my Christmas.
Record scratch. Dear Diary.
Yeah. Now, I guess we're like 2 days before. So we are in Trudy's apartment and she is in a rush because she has a job interview coming up and she is very nervous. Her father has set up this job interview for her, I think for like a law firm or something like that. And he just really wants her to get this job. Despite her father's wishes for Trudy to be a lawyer, she just wants to be an artist. And at the moment, she is heating up some Chinese food with a hairdryer because she's in, I guess just to sort of like illustrate how big of a rush she's in, even though I've never heard of anybody doing that. And she also has her hair done up in a bunch of curlers because she's giving herself a perm. She wrapped her head in saran wrap, which is it's pretty foolish. And she's on the phone with her mother, and her mother's just basically saying, hey, I'm really excited to meet your boyfriend when you come and see us at this cabin in the middle of nowhere that we've rented for the weekend. And yeah, we're finally gonna meet him. We, in more or less the words, her mother is just lecturing her about being successful, and is just like, I can't wait to see you, and you're gonna show me that you're not a loser. Basically, is what she's saying. She's even telling her to like wear certain dresses so that because they'll hide her hips. So Trudy left her saran wrap on for like way too long, and her hair has basically turned into a koosh ball. Like it's just like she's just got a really frilly ball of hair. It looks like a matted ball of yarn with like strings hanging out all over the place.
It's like a poodle haircut.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. Unfortunately, Trudy has not rushed around enough. She didn't eat her Chinese food fast enough because she has arrived to her interview very late, and the receptionist is having none of it. She's like, Mr. Pino, I can't remember what his name is. It sounds something like that. Mr. Pino.
Mr. Pino.
It's something like that.
Okay, I love it. Run with it.
Mr. Pino is already in with his next interview. You should have been on time. Trudy runs to the window of the office of where he's doing his interview, taps on the window. He looks over, and here's what she says to him. And by the way, apparently this person was like, she knew this person when she was like a little girl, one of her father's friends.
Mr. Portnoy, it's me, little Pootie in the corner. Come on, you know I can sell. I made more money than any of those other girls on the street.
Okay, so clearly, and this is definitely an intended joke, she has presented herself as essentially a prostitute at the window.
Yeah, the first time I heard this, I laughed out loud. And as I went through this, I'm like, are they really making these kinds of jokes on purpose?
There's so many times that someone would say something, and I immediately paused it, and I had to like go back like 10 seconds. Like, did I just hear that right?
They just like, it's not very, it starts like little subtle things at first. And then they just take out a frying pan, and they're basically just hitting you in the face with a boner. So, but the family Christmas version of that boner, I guess, for ABC, whatever that. We'll see. We'll see what that weird stuff is, folks.
Trudy has gone to work at this cafe, and I don't know. It seems like some kind of like an Indian food style cafe, and it's Christmas time. From what I witnessed, I only see ice cream. A lot of people eating ice cream.
It's like, hey, no, ice cream sandwiches. They're like, listen, it was like $20 for 10 of them. You guys are just in this one shot here. That's all we need. Everyone's just eating it's an ice cream bar.
And really, this really has no bearing on the story whatsoever. This just happens to be where Trudy works. So Trudy has come to work, and her coworker is also with the owner of this cafe. And she kind of mentions that to Trudy that one of the reasons she feels safe here, or she makes some kind of a joke as far as being with him, and referring to this old gun, this really old handgun from like the Civil War era, that is like sitting on a shelf, like kind of on display. And by the way, this gun is loaded. Doesn't matter right now, but just keep that in the back of your head for a little bit.
Because why not, right?
Yeah, why not?
And apparently, it is like the perfect height too for like a small child as well. Can I say it's like waist height?
So Trudy is not having a very good shift. Everyone's making fun of her hair, and she's got some reindeer antlers on her head, so she kind of looks like a fool. And finally, her boyfriend shows up, and his name is Nick. Now, Nick appears to be basically one of these stereotypical businessmen that you're talking about earlier. He is just in business, works on Wall Street, and does things with the market. And that's basically how it's worded. So he shows up, and he's kind of questioning about whether he wants to go meet her parents. This is the first time that they've met, and they're going to do it on Christmas Eve. And Trudy's kind of freaking out because they've been planning this. Her parents have been just hammering on her that she needs to get on with her life and have a boyfriend in a relationship and be successful. So this is her chance. And Nick says, I'm not sure if I'm ready. And she's like, well, you need to get ready now because we are going to meet my parents. And he's like, I don't know if I'll ever be ready. And Trudy proceeds to have a meltdown while he just kind of abruptly dumps her, like while she's on shift here in front of everybody. And Trudy's not helping herself at all. She doesn't seem to get the message that he's dumped her because he's like, as he's like walking out of the place, she's like, if you walk out of here, we're over. And he turns around and laughs. And he's like, huh, yeah, I get it. See ya. So then Trudy is just in like this daze. She is taking orders and serving people, but she's like basically has no emotion on her face. She is just stunned. And I don't know, maybe embarrassed. She doesn't really speak a whole lot.
Oh, yeah. Well, that entire restaurant just turned and watched this event happen. So there's no way. Plus, she's wearing this weird, embarrassing dress that her like mom insists that she wear. Just weird pink Pepto-Bismol colored dress. And she's got the weird poodle hair going on here and like antlers. And this is like a really embarrassing moment for this lady, it looks like. Like a cord has just snapped mentally for her.
Her mom calls this a Christmas dress. And as soon as she said that, I was like, I don't understand. Like, pink isn't really like an all pink dress. Is that a Christmas thing?
I guess it's supposed to be like cranberry, maybe we'll call it. You know, it's kind of got like red trim on it. I don't really know, but I could see how this is like to me almost the equivalent of like an ugly Christmas sweater, but like the ugly Christmas dress. I don't know. Girls, you let us know. Do you wear ugly Christmas dresses? Is there a thing? I don't know what this is. Someone let me know.
So in the middle of Trudy's days here, she receives a phone call on her cell phone from her mother. And her mother is asking her about this dress that we're talking about. And her mother also asks her what Nick will be wearing, not knowing that Nick just dumped Trudy. Trudy is staring at people coming in and out of the cafe. And in walks Slater, Mario Lopez, from Saved by the Bell. He walks in. And she's staring at him and sees that what he's wearing and tells her mom her boyfriend that she's bringing to Christmas is wearing exactly what this man is wearing. She says he's wearing a blue blazer and a red tie. He's dressed very sharp. As soon as she hangs up the phone, this guy named David, played by Mario Lopez, David decides he's going to go to the bathroom. And Trudy steps in front of him with her jacket and is like, you're not going to the bathroom. And then he's like, well, I don't know what kind of government thing you're working for. And then she hauls out this gun, the gun that was on display, and pulls the hammer back on it too, and just points at him. He's like, is that a gun? She's like, you're right, it's a gun. Yeah, he's like, you're kidding, right? She's like, no, turn around and walk out of the store now. Walk out of this cafe. He's like, okay. So they walk out of the cafe. And as they get outside, he slips on some ice and knocks himself out. I think he was actually attempting to like punch her. I think he was like trying to turn around really quick and punch her, but he slips and knocks himself out. So Trudy puts him in her trunk.
He totally did. He was trying to swing on her. It's crazy. This lady in the middle of this restaurant grabbed this little flintlock pistol, held this guy at gunpoint, and snuck him out the back door in an ABC Disney movie. We're like 6 minutes in.
So fast forward a little bit, they're driving in the woods now. And David here, his hands are tied to like, I don't know, the mirror, some part of the car, like tied together. And like, I think they're tied with pantyhose, if I'm not mistaken. And he has like a tie wrapped around his eyes. And he comes to and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, you're coming to dinner and you're going to be my boyfriend tonight. You're going to meet my parents. And he's like, what? You're crazy. She hauls out the gun again. And she's like, you're going to do this. And like they go over a bump or something and she accidentally like shoots a hole through the floor. That's how you know the gun's actually loaded. Like she could have killed him.
You know what though, Tim? I will say, first of all, this is just like a horror movie already. In the first, if you just saw this part of the movie, you'd be like, this is like, is this Misery? Is this Gerald's Game? Is that what I'm about to watch here? What is going on? That's what the vibes I got out of this thing. But to me, also, I mean, I'm not a gun expert, so I could be wrong, but I feel like this little rifle. I'm pretty sure it's like a flintlock style rifle is what it looks like. So that's it. You put gunpowder in a musket in there, and that's it. And that's it. A musket pellet, and that's it. So she shot that once. There's no bullet left in this thing. He could just kick her in the head now. I mean, like, he can't drive the car or anything, but do you know what I mean? Like, you could get out of there.
Yeah, well, that's possible. However, I wouldn't be making that assumption, though, like myself. Like, if you were actually in this situation and this girl had just, like, kidnapped you and tied you up in her car and she's pointing this gun and it shoots once, I don't know if I would, like, in that moment that I'd be confident enough to be like, I know that gun and I know there's not another bullet, and then just start going crazy. Like, it really, to me, like, we know that's what the gun is, but if I was actually in the moment, I wouldn't be too confident. I might consider that might actually be like a replica gun that works. Anyways, yeah, so they stop at a gas station because they need gas, and she's hungry. She needs to get him some food, so she goes in and gets him some beef jerky, and like a quart of whiskey or
This guy
something.
plastered for dinner.
Yeah, and then inside, like this old man who runs this little shop, and he peeks out and he sees David just like tied up in the car with a blindfold on. He's like, what's going on there? I think I might need to call somebody. And she goes to the phone and she's like, oh, no. We're just going to a cabin for the weekend for the Christmas. And we basically want to get freaky. And he's like, oh, just 1 second. I've got something for you. And he comes back with a pair of handcuffs.
Fluffy, they're like sex cuffs. I call them love cuffs, sex cuffs, something like that.
So he walks out of this shop, and in the car, she replaces the pantyhose with these new handcuffs. And the shop owner is like looking on. He's like, oh, what a lucky guy.
Yeah, honestly, ABC Family Division, their slogan should be ABC Family. Explain that one to your kids. Yeah, this guy just thinks they are a bunch of weird, kinky freaks, I guess, is what he thinks is going on in an ABC Family Kids movie, by the way, again. And he gives her gas and kind of smiles and gives him a little wink, and they drive off now to the middle of nowhere, I guess, to the Voorhees cabin.
She has basically told him that he is going to be her pretend boyfriend for the weekend. And that's it. And he's like, yeah, as soon as we go in there, I'm going to tell your parents that you're crazy. And she's like, okay. So she goes in first, greets her parents, and tells them that when Nick, because his name is David, but they think that her boyfriend's name is Nick because that's the one that actually broke up with her earlier in the day, right? So she tells her parents that Nick does this weird thing, quirky thing, that whenever he gets nervous, he makes this really weird joke that he's being held hostage against his will. So, don't make him feel weird about it. Just laugh along and go along with it with him. Just like pretend that it's nothing. Don't give it too much attention. Just laugh, and they're like, okay, that's kind of weird.
This is incredible. What you just explained, Tim. I just hope people take all that in and just soak up what you just said right there, okay?
It's amazing. So then he goes inside, and immediately he's like, look, your daughter is crazy. She's holding me against my will. She's brought me here at gunpoint. And they're like, oh, you're just being funny. She told me that you're full of jokes. And they just won't listen to him. And there's no amount of like truth that he tells that they believe at all. They're just like, oh my gosh, he's hilarious.
Her parents just accept that, folks. They just accept that.
Yeah, so he just runs out of the house and screams, looking for anybody that can help them. He doesn't see anybody. When he runs back inside, he talks to the father who is just sitting and reading a book. And he says, look, if you can get me out of here, I'll forget the whole thing. Please, just give me a phone. Where is the phone? And the father is like, sorry, we got no phones or keys to the car here. They were all taken away. And he's like, by who? He says, the key master. So every year, coincidentally, this family appoints one of the members as the key master. And the key master takes everyone's keys and their phones and locks them away, hides them somewhere so that there's no distractions. Now, I can understand maybe asking people. I think like, stealing people's phones is a bit over the top. However, I can see parents, not wanting people like on their phones constantly during Christmas time. However, taking people's car keys seems pretty excessive. Like, why, why would you take? Are you afraid that someone's gonna get distracted and drive away? Like, why would you take someone's car keys?
That's what I mean. Are we? Is this ABC again? ABC Family, or is this Stephen King? What is this? So let me. We're gonna play a clip, folks. I just want to show you a little interaction between the dad and AC Slater here, just to show you how inappropriate some of this movie just starts to get here. This is, again, just some of the tip of the iceberg as we go through this already. Here we go.
Oh, this is so special. You are the first boyfriend Trudy's ever brought home.
Yeah, we thought maybe she liked the innies, not the outies.
Richard.
Sorry, I just want to say I've never heard that term used for anything else than a belly button, or in that new TV show Severance. But that's a really weird thing to say.
That's funny. I know what you're saying. The first time I heard that, I was like, what are they talking about? Yeah, I'm like, come on, what is this? But I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, the fact that they created such a euphemism there
For being a lesbian?
for that. I can't believe that. Like, I'm blown away that's where they went with this.
Oh, you're an innie. Or you like the innie? Oh, weird. Wow, that's a weird thing to say. Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about this either, but like, man, her dad, I thought, just looks almost identical to George Bush Sr.
He does look a lot like George Bush Sr. After all that nonsense. Trudy's brother and sister show up to join the whole family Christmas thing. And they go through the exact same jokes again, where Mario Lopez here, David, is just like begging for help, begging anybody to please help him. Because he's in the middle of nowhere. He can't convince anybody that this girl, that their daughter, sibling, has kidnapped him at gunpoint. Nobody believes him. They all just think it's a quirky joke. Time goes by, and then at night, these guys are sleeping in bunk beds. Mario Lopez, the hostage here, and Melissa Joan Hart. They're sleeping in bunk beds. And he kind of makes a joke that I thought was funny. And he says, get used to this because it's going to be just like the beds you're going to sleep in with your cellmates. So anyways, he should be right. The next day, Trudy wakes up early and she sneaks out to use her cell phone because she is the key master. Trudy is the key master for this celebration this year.
The dungeon master, more like it.
Yeah, so she has all of the keys and cell phones. I'm going to say they're hidden in her bra, all of them at once, because that's more funny. She's got all this technology, all these devices and keys in her bra. And she takes one of them out of her bra, her cell phone, and she sneaks out to use the phone and calls her coworker. And her coworker's like, hey, what happened to you yesterday? You just seem like you disappeared. And Trudy basically just tells her everything. And she's like, you need to turn yourself in. You need to let him go right now. And while that's going on, David sees her outside using the phone. And he's like waiting for her to come back inside. She comes back inside and they chase each other around this island in the kitchen. And she takes out a meat tenderizer, basically a metal hammer, and just starts like smashing her cell phone to pieces. So I don't know. That seems like that ends that whole thing. I don't know why that he quits there. If I was him, wouldn't you take somebody else hostage in this house? I'd be like, look, I'm going to hurt this person if you guys don't listen to me right now. Like, this is serious. He has a girlfriend that's been waiting for him that he was going to propose today. Meanwhile, this crazy Trudy girl it's awful.
Well, apparently, Tim, in this world, if you just kidnap somebody and you tell people that you've been kidnapped, no one believes you. Because it's just such a funny joke, potentially.
Not if you have a bulletproof story like she did.
That's right. That's it, right? It's so that's the world we live in, I guess. That's our intelligence level of this family. Maybe it's just because their family are a bunch of morons. Maybe that's why. Maybe they all ate paint chips or something. I don't know what happened. Everyone was in a car crash and they all hit their heads. That could be it, but I don't know.
So Mother here has realized that she had forgot to pack the virgin oil, and they need that to cook, I suppose. And Mario Lopez here, he volunteers to go to the store and get it. Sabrina won't let him go alone. Trudy won't let him go by himself because she knows he's trying to escape. So her dad insists that they go together.
So Mario Lopez, aka AC Slater, runs into this weird Deliverance gas station that apparently just sells virgin olive oil in the middle of nowhere. And so this whole scene comes down now where the dad comes up and the guy, he's explaining to the guy, like, look, I'm a hostage. And again, for some reason, nobody believes him that he is being taken hostage in this weird, stupid world. And the dad comes up and he's just like, oh, we got a little woman at home who loves everything slathered in oil. And he's like, right, son? Puts his arm on him. He's just like, no shame on the holiday. And this guy is just, again, painting a deeper, weirder, kinkier picture of AC Slater and what's gone on earlier. So again, he doesn't believe him. So they pay for this oil and Slater is pissed. And he's just like, he can't take this anymore. So they leave the store. But he's just like, that's not good enough. So he runs back into the store now. And he goes to the old man. He's like, look, dude, I need to use a phone right now. And I don't care what you say. The old man now pulls out a shotgun. And we're going to hit you with a little clip.
There's not going to be any trouble in my store, Super Freak. Now back that ass up nice and slow.
I really like that. I don't know why. I love a good Rick James reference every now and then.
Yeah, that was really good. Super Freak. Back that ass up nice and slow. And you hear the little banjo stuff going on in the back there.
Yeah, I get a little bit of a Deliverance vibe.
So now we go back to the cabin in the woods here, this murder cabin. And AC Slater has somehow smuggled a phone and he's gone into the bathroom to hide. And he calls. Tim, if you had a phone now in the middle of the woods and you've been taken hostage, no one believes you now, and you got a phone, you now finally have access to a cellular telephone. Who are you going to call, Tim?
Those 3 magic numbers, 911.
Okay, so you're not crazy like me, or maybe we're both stupid. I don't know. He calls his girlfriend's mansion, and the mom's butler is like supposed to answer the phone or something, and no one answers the phone. And then he calls his girlfriend. And then he's like, hey, can you do me a favor? Now that he's finally got somebody on the phone, he's like, can you call the police for me and tell them where I am? Okay? This is what happens, folks. And then finally, at this point, Melissa Joan Hart kicks the door down and throws the phone into the toilet.
And the funny thing about that is that he got that phone from her grandmother. So, like, we forgot to mention that her grandmother showed up. The grandmother of this family showed up, and that's the phone that she threw in the toilet. She took her grandmother's phone and threw it in the toilet.
So after Sabrina the Teenage Witch sewers AC Slater's phone, he says to her, it doesn't matter because I've called the cavalry. They're on their way. So guess what? You're lucky. I'm going to pretend to be your boyfriend until the cops show up for some reason. This guy is now going to play along with this whole charade. And the reason he wants to play along with this whole charade is apparently he thinks that it's going to make her look even more stupid. Which to me, it's like, you're going to make everybody look stupid because you just told everybody, I'm a hostage. What's wrong with you people? Already. And to me, anyways, he could have went out to the car and got the gun and showed them the bullet hole. And anyways, so regardless, that's the path he chooses to go down in this adventure here. It's his own choose your own adventure story. So that's what he does. So they're handing out presents later on in the evening. It's apparently Christmas Eve now. And everyone's laughing it up, and he's being such a good guy. And he's like, oh, Richard, check this out, or whatever the guy's name is. You know, this is how we do this, blah, blah, blah. And they're having a great time and laughing up. And all of a sudden now, Melissa Joan Hart just storms out of the room. She is upset. And everyone's like, what's up with her? And AC Slater's like, I got it. Let me go out there. And so she is sulking upstairs in her bunk bed, her stupid little bunk bed upstairs. And so David walks into the room and he goes, what's going on, man? Why are you upset? And this is what she said. She literally said, my family likes you more than me, and I'm upset about this. And to me, I'm like, no offense, your family shouldn't like you right now. Because who's lied to the family and who at a gunpoint here? Okay? And who's gonna like make these people like accessory to kidnapping after the fact and all this other stuff? And it's like, I'm sorry, you're not a nice person, Melissa Joan Hart. You know what? Your family should kind of ostracize you a little bit. And they don't even know. They don't even know about how bad you are.
Yeah, so her parents don't even know any of that stuff, right? It's this stemmed from her parents taking a liking to him and asking him to read "Twas the Night Before Christmas" because that's like a family tradition every single year. And based on that bit of adoration from her parents, she became super jealous. Which is the funny thing about this is the whole point of this was to get accepted by her parents, and it's actually happening, and she's not even winning at that. She kidnapped somebody at gunpoint, forced them to pretend to be someone that her parents will like, and then gets mad at that hostage when her parents start liking him. Yes, her moral compass is a little bit askew here.
This is a character that you're supposed to have some sympathy with. You're supposed to be like, oh, I identify with her and sympathize with her struggle. Let that sink in, folks. It's supposed to be like a protagonist of this movie. And these are the decisions and life choices she's making.
The next day, they decide to go skating together, which I think is kind of funny. I'm not sure why he's just going along doing fun things with her while he's being hostage. Like if it were me, if I was being held hostage, I would be like, no. I would sit in a corner with my arms folded until that gun came out every single time. But anyways, not this guy. He is just going to go along with it, and he's going to go skating around with her. And they decide to like play hockey, and they got this little like children's hockey net. And this, I thought was actually pretty funny. She wants to play goalie because Melissa Joan Hart says that she used to play goalie when she was a kid, and Mario Lopez is like, okay. And he proceeds to just like slam her on the ice over and over and over. just like checking her and throwing her down. And she's like totally okay with it. But I mean, what more can she do? She might as well go along with it. She's jealous. She's a jealous mess. So
I got to say though, this is a bad choice for both of them because they're on ice. And when you're on ice, typically, I don't know, in Canada, this maybe calls crazy, but we wear skates. I don't know about the rest of the world.
What? What about the rest of the world? What else do they wear in the rest of the world?
That's what I'm saying. Why are these people they don't have skates on? They're just running around in their shoes.
Oh, I didn't even notice that they didn't have that shoes on. That doesn't come till
That's all they're doing. It's like you don't run around on ice with your anyways. That's like smart. I mean, anyways, he's choosing to hang out with his kidnapper willfully at this point. So his life choices are pretty stupid anyways. And she kidnapped this guy on Christmas Eve or whatever it is. So
to be fair, he actually doesn't have any other way out. He did try, like that's what the point of it was at the very beginning. There is no, like the closest place of any kind, I think, which is that store they went to, is like 20 miles away. So walking that in the wintertime, he really doesn't have any other kind of other choice, right, to go along with it. And none of these people believe him. So I guess he just has to go along with it. So a little later on, Trudy is doing some house chores, I guess, and she goes upstairs to help her mom, and her mom is kind of just like daydreaming, I guess, while she's folding all these pairs of underwear, and she just has some like random things to talk about to Trudy. I guess these are just the things that are on her mind. We have some clips here for you to listen to. Enjoy.
Sometimes I have dreams that hundreds of pairs of underwear envelop me. Do you ever have dreams like that?
No. Mom, are you okay?
Do you know that your father's the only man I have ever slept with? Have you slept with more than one man?
No.
Oh, of course you have. It's the way of the modern world. You boink a whole lot of different people. You don't just pick one and hope for the best.
Oh, there's so many things in that little exchange that I have to ask about. So, first thing is, I think this is the first time I've ever heard a woman, a female, fantasize over men's underwear. And I could be wrong, but I felt like that's like a stereotype for men and looking into women. I don't know, but I never heard any woman ever say, "You ever have a dream of just being like engulfed in underwear?" Like she's saying that like it turns her on, right?
No, I think it's more like it's more remorseful, honestly.
Or is terrifying?
It seems like her and George Bush are having a rocky time in their marriage, and she just really hates him during this holiday here. So it seems more like she just like, oh my God, this guy's underwear. I'm knee deep in this thing every day. It's disgusting. There's skid marks. It smells bad. Whatever it is. I gotta use extra bleach. I don't know. But she's just not happy with it. But I thought it was all, again, can we just highlight, Tim? This is an ABC family movie. Okay. And the mom's like, you've just banged a bunch of guys, right? Before? I mean, that's just how things go.
I like how she's like, I only slept with your father's the only person I ever slept with. You've banged up more guys. Sorry, you've boinked a lot of people, right? And she's like, no. And she's like, her mom's like, oh, of course you have. You little hoe. Of course, of course you have. You slept with a whole lot of people.
Like,
I don't
yeah.
even know why I'm asking.
Could you imagine, though, your mom just divulges this information to you, A, and then B, turns around and then asks you a question.
Calls you a hoe.
Yeah, basically calls you a skank. Yeah, what's up with
And answers it for you.
This is Christmas. This is awkward. This is an awkward Christmas vacation. I don't know what this is.
I get the impression that they don't get together very often. So this is like the only time that her mother can like weirdly express her issues with marriage.
And you know what? I'm going to come to Melissa Joan Hart's defense in this too. Maybe this is the reason why she snapped and grabbed the gun in the first place. You know, just her mom just put these weird sex questions on her and all of her issues at once, right? So it's been enough. It's Christmas Day now. Finally, thank God. And they're opening presents, apparently. And, you know, we get this kind of montage of like photos and Christmas music happening and people are smiling and whatever. And then all of a sudden, abruptly, this is good time just stops. And the dad's just like, this is a good time to harp on my daughter here. And he just basically has a moment where he's telling Melissa Joan Hart, like, you need to get serious with your life in front of the family and this guy that he just met that apparently is not a hostage. And he's just like, yeah, you need to get serious with your life and stop. Because she's a painter, right? So she likes to paint. And that's her big thing. And he's like, you need to stop doing your little colorings and your little doodles. And you need to be serious with your life and not be some stupid loser painter. It's basically his whole pep talk to her on Christmas morning. And obviously, you know, she's not really that receptive to that whole idea of, you know, you need to get your life together because you're a loser. So basically, to sort of change the direction here, David, aka AC Slater, being a nice guy, pulls out his engagement ring that he was going to give to his girlfriend, his real girlfriend, who hasn't kidnapped him or held him at gunpoint yet. Apparently, it doesn't seem like she's a nice girl either. But he pulls out that ring and he gets down on one knee now and he fake proposes to Melissa Joan Hart in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. He's, like I said, this is how Stockholm Syndrome works. You know, you're too close with somebody for a while and for some reason you start liking them. And he's just really going hard on like trying to play up the cool boyfriend. And then it's like, there's no end game in this that could possibly be good. Like they're so deep now that there is no resolve that could possibly happen that would allow them to get out of this in a normal way.
No, not unless it's an ABC family movie.
Yeah. But for the sake of like, if this was your reality, there's nowhere to go from here. Once you're like these lies that they've made now, like once Christmas is over, like as soon as it's done, there's no ending.
This is Monopoly. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to jail. So anyways, Melissa Joan Hart looks at AC Slater and she says, hey, if you just kind of play along for the rest of today, just be a good guy, then tomorrow I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll let you go. This can all be over. And he's like, all right, that's cool. Thanks. I appreciate that. So later on that evening, Melissa Joan Hart is taking out some trash to the garage and she walks into the garage and turns on the light and finds her brother just sitting there in a lawn chair, apparently just bound and bag a bunch of beers by himself in the dark. And she's just like, hey, what are you doing out here? And basically they have a long conversation and he figuratively comes out of the closet in the garage and tells her that he's gay and he's got a boyfriend. And he really hasn't had a girlfriend for a long time. Like his family's always been putting that pressure going like, hey, who are you dating? That kind of thing. We want to meet this girl. Turns out he's got a boyfriend. So they kind of laugh it off and they're just like, we'll tell mom. Tell mom, dad. It's no big deal.
Yeah, he's basically coming out of the dark.
Yeah, that's
Because
right.
he was, just emphasize what you said there. He was literally in the dark. Like there was no light on in there. He was just sitting in a chair in a room with no lights on.
Yeah, it was really sad, depressing.
He seemed pretty depressed, but I mean, really, he actually seems quite happy. So, good for him.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. He is very happy, but it's like a weird, sad thing that you would go out there just like drink in the garage by yourself. I don't know. He seems apprehensive, at least about telling his parents,
Maybe now he doesn't have to sit in the dark and drink alone.
That's true. I think maybe he's concerned about George Bush's reaction. But while this is all going on, they're sort of disturbed by this weird noise going on outside. And it turns out that Grandma, who's been day drinking, okay, this is now like 9:30 at night, it seems like.
Oh, she's had all day to drink.
Yeah, it was like 10 o'clock when they're like, what are you doing? It's 10 a.m. And she's like, yep, I'm drinking. I'm 67 or whatever she is. So they're like, okay, so now she's been drinking all day. She grabbed the keys to her car and she's going to just drive to town because she's bored at nighttime and drunk. And AC Slater has decided to jump in the car with her and try to get out of there as well, too. Even though I guess he was going to be nice with Melissa Joan Hart, but to be fair, she also kidnapped him. I don't really know where he stands in this. He's very confused too, as well as I am.
Yeah, he does. He does seem very confused.
Yeah, you'd think like, are you staying until tomorrow? Because it seems like it's all over. All you do is just go to sleep that night. But maybe you're thinking she's crazy because she did hold you at gunpoint. So who knows what's going on there? But he's also called the police at this point too. So I don't really know what's going on here. So Trudy and her brother run out of the garage. And they see what's going on here, and they get everyone straightened out, park the car again, and get Grandma some coffee and put her in bed. And they put AC Slater up in his room. So later on that evening, this is weird. They go, and AC Slater is now just kind of hanging out in his towel. He just took a shower, and Melissa Joan Hart comes in and just totally creeps him out.
Do you need to take a shower?
No, I'll wait till you're dry. Dressed. Done. Whew.
Can I say, there's just weird, like okay, again. Look at me. I know, real life people, IRL, I'm probably like a 6.5. I understand. I can understand why Melissa Joan Hart would be very attracted to AC Slater. He's all busted up here with his muscly arms and stuff, this little towel, ageless, like a unicorn, all that stuff. But he is now falling in love with her. And all she has been is like a horrible person this entire movie. And like also demeaned him and been like, you just build like little cookie cutter homes for people. And basically had held him at gunpoint and whined to him about like why is he better than her and his family likes him. And
yeah, she even turns to jealousy after he submits to her needs. Or not submits to her needs, but
why is he fall in love with her?
I don't know. In fact, he's so head over heels with her that he has prepared a surprise for her. Now I don't understand this. So I guess Melissa Joan Hart now, she used to be a figure skater when she was young. That was like one of her dreams. And Slater here, Mario Lopez, he has gone out and I guess he cleared off an entire like skating pond around their house. It's somehow around a gazebo, but he put up all these Christmas lights all over the place. Like this kind of work that was done looks like he had to have been out here like all day long preparing this. So now they're having like a romantic little skate together. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch is super happy. And yeah, it's like they're not even hostages. It's like it's just a regular day now. Regular romantic night in Christmas.
Can I point out something? Just a giant plot hole. Again, I know this is just a little silly movie, people. This is for fun, okay? It's not like this is like a romantic weekend that he planned for her. And he was like, I'm going to take this girl up that I've known for like a couple of weeks or a couple of days that she's a figure skater. And she does this thing and I can plan this nice surprise. It's not like, okay, he got held at musket point by her in a restaurant, okay? A very confused restaurant. So He goes up in the middle of this gazebo where he's got all these lights strung up, and maybe the lights, you could say maybe it's like an Airbnb and the lights were already kind of staged there. Maybe that's the thing. I could buy that, right? But he literally walks up to a box that's in the middle of this gazebo, opens it up, and pulls out a pair of skates. And he's like, here you go. Do your routine. This guy got a musket point. Where do these skates come from? Who planned these skates to be here?
Maybe their parents requested that. We'd like in their Airbnb, we'd like a place that we can skate that already has skates for our adult children. Should they want to skate? And I'd like every tree to be decorated, or at least leave the lights in the same box that you're gonna leave the skates.
This is like a magic chest where you just randomly pull out skates that fit you. Come on.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. She's spinning around, and it's this moment, like, I don't know, it's a move that I guess a figure skater would take a lot of pride in or something, but she's essentially just spinning around like Tasmanian Devil on a pair of skates. And it's like slows down a little bit, and you can see that it's clearly no longer Melissa Joan Hart as the figure skater.
This like entire routine is like clearly not Melissa Joan Hart. It's a lady who doesn't really even kind of look like her. She just kind of has blonde hair. That's about it. It seemed like I really was watching this. Just like none of that seemed like her.
No, none of it was her.
But the lady who's skating, she's doing a great job. So, fake Melissa Joan Hart doing a great job skating out there, shredding it up. So, I love it. And I couldn't stop laughing when I was watching the scene. Because even when you're right, they slow down and the lights fade out, and it's clearly not just a figure skater that's not her.
Well, yeah, it's not her. Yeah, it's definitely a stunt double that can skate a lot better than Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah, she looks about 0% like Melissa Joan Hart.
So while Mario Lopez here has been held hostage at this cabin for this whole entire holiday, his actual fiance, who was supposed to meet him at the cafe, has been searching for him. And she's been kind of going around with these two dumb detectives that really don't even seem to believe her. They think that she's crazy until she busts into the owner of the cafe as well as his girlfriend. And he is naked wearing a Christmas bow. And she's like dressed up. I don't know. They're having some kind of a role-playing Christmas type thing. And through that, they kind of give her a hint as to where Melissa Joan Hart might have taken this guy. So we're just pointing that out there now because this is going to come into play here in a little bit. The cops are on their way.
It's later on that day, and it's dinner. Everyone's sitting down there. George Bush Jr. and his family are all sitting around the table, and they're having dinner. And what's going to unfold here is nothing but chaos. Absolute good old-fashioned family chaos. And I love this whole scene.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. So this starts with what would normally be an annual toast made by their mother. But this year, she's just not feeling it. She's got underwear on the mind. So Trudy's sister is like, you know what? I have something to say. I'd like to start this. And everyone's like, okay, let's go. So she's like, just so y'all know, I quit law school. And her parents are like, what? And specifically the father, he's really upset. Her mother's kind of like, I don't know, she seems like a little bit tipsy with the wine right now. She's like, well, you know what? Good for you, dear. You got to make your own path kind of thing. And so that happens. And then their brother, he just decides, he's like, you know what? I might as well just tell you all I'm gay. And they're like, the mother, she don't care. The father, he's outraged. And seems to be a trend with him. His mother is just laughing, and she's like, yeah, we knew that anyways. But apparently the father didn't know. Then this is when she kind of starts to chastise her husband. And she's just like, you're always so set in your ways. You're forcing your kids to be in law school. You're belittling everyone. And they kind of have a full meltdown.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the mom has had enough here. She basically says, like, I'm sick of your crap there, George Bush Jr. I'm fed up with you and all your crappy, stupid ways, and you're just a grump all the time. And basically, she reveals some information about their annual birthday, conjugal appointment, we'll call it. Let's say. Let's play a clip, Tim.
This isn't my world, because if this was my world, I wouldn't have to picture Clint Eastwood just to get through our annual birthday sex. Aren't you glad you're gay?
Yeah, I love Granny's little ad in there talking to her grandson.
It was like the first time I saw that, I died. I thought this is the greatest moment in this movie. It's hilarious. It's just so funny. Just great. It highlights the absolute dysfunction of that moment in this movie so much. And it's kind of relatable, sometimes when you're at your family, not that part, not as the weird sex stuff, but just the people bickering at a table during Christmas time. I've been there once or twice in my life.
Yeah, there's I don't know, about 8 or 9 cops bust in with all guns drawn. Like, there's absolutely no strategical spacing between each other or anything. They're all just guns out, pointed at the family.
And they're there to rescue AC Slater. They're like, we know you've got somebody kidnapped here. And they're like, what are you talking about? And they're like, this guy here. And they're like, this is Nick. This is her boyfriend. Melissa Joan Hart's like, no, actually, he's not. His name's David, and I held him at musket point. And yeah, I kind of lied to you guys. And it's about this time that Granny shows up with a coffee, which I'm assuming probably has.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's rum and eggnog.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 Irish coffee. That's what we call it here, folks. And she's got the musket, which again is not loaded. There's been one shot in this thing. No one's ever putting it's whatever. But she's holding this gun. She's like, "You never take me alive, coppers!" And 7 of them just turn and they're about to blast her.
She comes out holding this musket and she says, "I don't know who ordered the bacon, but I'm gonna fry some up tonight."
It's hilarious. She's like a 1920s gangster. "You never get me, coppers. See ya." Mario Lopez, he grabs the gun off her and calms the whole thing down. He goes, "Guys, it's all right. It's all good here. There's no problem. Let's just resolve this like civilized people."
So next thing you know, we are in jail. The whole family has been put in jail. And I guess they've been there for a while. Everybody is let go. Mario Lopez, showing mercy, decided not to press charges because I think he probably just thinks this whole family is just so pathetic. Why even bother having any more dealings with them? And for whatever reason, he got Stockholm syndrome and likes Melissa Joan Hart now. Anyways, so charges are dropped, and except for Granny, she's not quite off the hook yet because she did point the gun at the cops.
Yeah, there's a weird moment here that happens at the end of this where the grandma, she is about to leave the jail cell, and the cop stops her. He goes, "Hey, not you, Grambo." And she looks at him. And she goes, really in a seductive way. And she's like, "Why, officer? What did you have in mind?" So what is going on with Granny leads a really risque, crazy life here, eh?
Granny is just out there living her best life. She sees opportunity in things that most people wouldn't. And you know what? She's cut loose for the holidays. She found a hot cop, maybe. She's just trying to salvage what fun she can get out of this whole mess that she didn't ask for any of this. So Trudy and her family are let out of jail. Next scene, she goes to meet Mario Lopez, and he's with his fiance, and she kindly gives him back his ring that he was going to use to propose to his fiance. So, and technically, he kind of proposed to her over the phone, so he doesn't need to get down on one knee or anything. They're just getting married, and we flash forward again, and it seems that we're past Christmas now. This is a few months or something, and Trudy has just received a letter of acceptance to some kind of an art school, or maybe it's an art gallery. Yeah. So she's getting one of her paintings, and her paintings, I don't know, they're okay. They seem to be her feature painting that she's going to put on display. It's a portrait of the Christmas skating area that Mario Lopez prepped up for her. So she's also on the phone with her brother, who's kind of giving her some words of encouragement. He's drinking beer. This guy's always drinking beer. And he's always partying. He was probably sitting in a dark room at home, right? And drinking his beer. And he's like, I should call Trudy. So anyways, he called her and he said, "I'm going to be there at your show to see your picture. And I hope you don't mind, but I brought some company with me. And so now we are at the gallery showing, and her whole family is there. And everybody's getting along now. Her father seems to be, I guess he's going to see a therapist or something. So he's learning to be nicer. I don't know, maybe that's helped him to satisfy his wife more or something. I'm not sure, but she seems happier.
Maybe he's going to dress up like Clint Eastwood once a month.
Yeah, and she gets to meet her brother's boyfriend, so they're all happy. And to her surprise, somebody bought her painting. This is the best day in Trudy's life since the kidnapping. You know, it's all turning around for her now. And someone bought it for her. After it's all over, Trudy is walking out of the building alone, and she goes to her car, and someone comes up behind her and wraps some kind of a cloth around her face and kidnaps her. And she is talking about how, like, she's a black belt and this abductor. So she tells this abductor that she's, like, really good at karate. She's a black belt or something. And then he's like, oh, I'm really scared. And we can tell, oh, it's Mario Lopez. So this is like one of those, like, really cute romantic kind of kidnappings, right? So she's super relieved, and she finds out that Mario Lopez bought her picture for one of his new, like, architectural projects. Basically, he's going to put her picture in a room in one of his new buildings or something, right?
Well, it's a bit of a celebration because he has decided to take her advice and do his own thing, and he's going to open up his own architecture studio. So he'll be opening up his own business, doing, designing buildings and that kind of thing. It's also going to be an art gallery as well, too. And the first painting that he bought to display is this crappy little painting that she made of them skating in the snow when he got abducted. So
that was so nice of him. Especially, it's a nice thing to do, but especially when you count the kidnapping that he was put through, being held at gunpoint and stuff. This is a really nice guy. And the other surprise is he didn't get married. So he scoops her up in his arms and they make out. And she kind of reiterates the same thing that she said in the very beginning of the movie. Sometimes crazy people do crazy things, but that doesn't mean they're crazy. Which, I don't know. I think I kind of disagree with that sentiment. If you do crazy, the best way to diagnose yourself of being crazy is ask yourself if you do crazy things. So I would say if you do crazy things, there's a chance you might be crazy. If you kidnap someone at gunpoint, you might be crazy. Like you might be a redneck.
If you kidnap somebody at musket point, you might be a crazy person.
If you force a random stranger to be your boyfriend in front of your family, you might be crazy.
If you abduct somebody from Saved by the Bell, you're a redneck. Yeah, I think it's just a giant justification for her insane plot there. And like that was it. To be fair, she did put this guy in harm's way. Like there was a bullet in there at one point. We saw that. She pointed the gun at him. That's not great. Anyways, we should say this. That's the end of the movie. That is the end of Holiday in Handcuffs. That's where it ends. Thank God. So let's talk about this, Tim. What are your thoughts?
I kind of like this. Like the movie's really, it's so stupid that this one, I think this is like in that area of like the really entertaining stuff that we look for. Like this movie wasn't boring. It didn't make me feel bored while I was watching it. I kind of felt the Christmas vibes a little bit once you look past like the kidnapping, the guy like being held at gunpoint, and then we just get to family fun and stuff. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie, It's just so weird, and I can't think of any movie like it. Like it's I can't think of anything even close to this that where like I don't know when you're how did they think of this? Like I'd like to know, like to see the writer's room or the storyboards, like where it started, where they had an idea and where they ended up with. Like, did they have this kidnapping story prior to wanting to make a Christmas movie? Or was this, okay, we need to make a Christmas movie, and they got into this plot of like kidnapping someone at gunpoint? Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to know what came first and how they ended up with this kidnapping story combined with Christmas.
I gotta say though, Tim, very surprised that you actually enjoyed this movie, and not in a bad way.
It's so dumb.
It's totally fair because right from the start, this was a wacky, ridiculous plot. I don't know. I kind of hate this movie, honestly. There's
Yeah.
something about this that I really hate. I like part of this because watching this and going through this with you and like there's a lot of things that if you just not pay attention to the dialogue, you're gonna miss a bunch of jokes, a bunch of insane, crude and rude jokes.
Some of it was actually funny.
Yeah, you're like, wow, like I can't believe they just said that, and it's kind of funny. It's almost has a shock value to it. I'm like, it's supposed to be again an ABC family movie, and the jokes they're hitting me with, they're like, I'm like, this is you're going pretty deep here with this. There's some stuff you're gonna have to explain to some kids, and I also just the Melissa Joan Hart character in this movie, her being a complete whiner and like she tries to be like this smart alecky know-it-all kind of like man, but you're a and like there's just something about her that it's very she's an annoying character. She's very abrasive personality. To feel anything for this woman, to be excited for her, to be married or dating this guy that she held at gunpoint that she'd been treating like absolute crap. Like I understand she's been having a hard time, and you kind of see that later on in the movie, but at the start of the movie, there's real no justification for that. And even at the end of the movie, it's like you still shouldn't be taking people at gunpoint here, okay? Even though you're having a hard time, and we're all having a hard time in the holidays, some of us more than others. It's understandable, but like you don't do. Come on, what's going on here? How about you just do what everyone else does? You just get blackout drunk and you fight somebody, or you throw some snowballs, or just go home and break something. I don't know. You come on. What are we doing here?
I feel like her whole character was handled a little bit too cavalier. Like she should have got some comeuppance for all of that. Like that's like it's crazy that he didn't press charges. I would press charges.
Oh, 100%.
And if that were my being her, I don't know. I guess I can't speak it to her family because I guess you want to love your family no matter what. But hypothetically, if this Christmas come to dinner and my brother has like a girl with him that we found out. What if it was like gender roles reverse? it would seem like a lot more dark for some reason, wouldn't it?
This would seem insane. You're right.
Yeah, like so if my brother showed up with a girl that he kidnapped at gunpoint, that would be, for a weekend, for a whole weekend, and made her act along with this. And I was like led to believe that, oh, well, they're getting married, they're proposing. I'd probably believe it too. And then for the cops to bust in during Christmas dinner, that might ruin my family. That might just tear our family apart. Like I don't know if I would be able to. I don't know if we'd be able to recover from that. So like that's a lot. So like it's like so cavalier that it's like, oh, poor Trudy, she did it to herself again.
Yeah. There's some weird crazy. It's just like, yeah, she always gets into these weird, wacky adventures all the time. Oh, she held somebody at gunpoint again. Crazy girl has just happened, right? It's just ridiculous. It's just like, yeah, you're right. I totally like, I don't know you. How is this like, you just like shattered my relationship with you and my belief and everything I thought about you, that you'd be capable of holding somebody at gunpoint, lying about the whole thing this entire time.
Ruined everybody's Christmas. This poor guy who's going to propose to his girlfriend, right? He just stole out to Christmas he'll never get back.
Yeah, and you're making your family like accessory to this stuff potentially too, right? And then they're under investigation as well, and they're probably all wearing ankle bracelets and stuff right now, and they also got fingerprinted.
Oh yeah, they're probably all on house arrest. They'll probably never be able to spend a Christmas alone again.
They're on FBI watch list now, no fly list or something. Like, come on. At least for the immediate future, someone's gonna have to get a pardon here. I feel like this is just not a great thing.
Yeah, and I really wish that they wouldn't have like hooked up at the end. I mean, like, I assumed you could tell just by the way the movie was going, where they kind of just like forced them to have a relationship out of nowhere, like while he was still being held hostage. It just like, I hate to see that kind of behavior rewarded. You know what I mean? Like, for all those crazy people out there that see this and they're like, oh, maybe I do have a chance if I go and kidnap somebody.
Just take this maybe like, yeah, you don't want to encourage that. This is not behavior that you think is appropriate.
Obviously, this isn't a movie that anyone should be expected to take seriously, but I think more people should watch this. It's so different than if you like watching the same Christmas movies every year, then this probably wouldn't be up your alley. But if you're just looking for something different to watch with some famous people, it's not any worse than a Hallmark Christmas movie.
I would say this is an edgy Hallmark movie.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good comparison.
If that appeals to you folks, I think give this one a spin. Like I said, I feel like Melissa Joan Hart is a little bit hard to sympathize with her in this movie, but at the same time, you can just sit back and laugh at a lot of the ridiculous moments in this movie. And there's just like some little lines that come out of this. You're like, I can't believe this. It's funny. It is funny. I'll give it that. There's some hilarious stuff in this movie. Absolutely.
He says, "Get out of here, super freak."
Yeah. But anyways, I think that's a great place to leave it, Tim. What about you?
That's good. I'm good with that.
All right. So maybe we'll turn off the Christmas lights on this one, and we'll leave you with a little bit of Granny.
I don't know who brought home the bacon, but I'm gonna fry it up in a pan.
Mother, no!